Welcome back to another Modular Wild. I'm Raul. If you were with us in the last video, we kind of delved into Bank 0 of the Miniwave ROM on the Richter Megawave. This time I thought it'd be useful to kind of jump through the Bank 1 and see how far we get through some of the other banks that are available in the Miniwave ROM on the Richter Megawave. Again, a little bit of setup info, just so you know what's going on here. There's some notes flying into our oscillator 2. If you look off to the left, there's our sequencer over there, and that guy is going to be feeding notes over to our oscillator 2. We're taking a saw output, because that's what the Megawave likes to have, going into the input. So this cable right here is going to go and feed the Megawave over there, so we get some nice shapes at our output. At the final output, you'll actually be hearing a combination of the Megawave and a standard saw wave. Just thought it would add a little bit of interest too. So let's go ahead and patch in and hear what we got. All right. Now, if you pop over to our oscilloscope, you can see something that looks like a sine wave. And if you were with us in the last video, you'll know exactly why. Because in Bank 0, Wave 0, Bank 0, that's actually a sine wave within the Miniwave ROM. If you'd like to follow along, you can. I do invite you to go to the Malekko Heavy Industry website, and on the Megawave page at the very bottom, there is under the controls, I think, section, there's a Miniwave manual that's got all these different waveforms in it, and that's kind of what I'm using to kind of go through some of these. But this video we're going to be going into bank number 1. So let's switch over to bank number 1. There we go. And you may not see a big change at the oscilloscope. Well, that's because, surprise, surprise, the first waveform is actually a sine wave as well. So not a big change at our oscilloscope, and that's what we expect. Now, waveform number 1 is going to be a little different. It is going to be a triangle wave, single cycle. So let's fly over to that. There you go. Now, you may not see exactly a triangle wave over at my oscilloscope. I've tried my best to kind of get the best shapes over there, and I can kind of show you what my results are here. So if I adjust that, I can guarantee you that's probably about as close as them. Well, oh, there we go. Close to triangle. Nice. I couldn't actually get that in the practice segments, but that's neither here nor there. So let's jump over to waveform 2, which should be a single cycle square wave. And this one, I did have some difficulty getting this one to show up in my little practice segments, but I'll give it another go here. So let me kind of play with input offset gain, see if I can get into some kind of square shape. Yeah, and this is kind of about the same results that I had when I was practicing. So, but in the manual, I guarantee you there's a way to get it there. Let's go on to waveform number 3, which is actually a single cycle sawtooth. This one actually, no problem whatsoever getting this one to come up. And you should actually hear that the sound now is pretty thin, kind of like a saw. Let's pop over to number 4, which should be a single cycle descending sawtooth wave. There's our descending edge of the sawtooth wave right there. And now, just given the waveforms that we've been looking at so far, you're probably saying to yourself, well, hey, these are pretty standard waveforms. Guess what? That's exactly kind of what half of the purpose of this particular bank is. In the Miniwave manual, it actually describes it as some standard and not so standard waveforms. We're going to be seeing some of the not so standard ones, the pretty interesting ones, coming up here in a moment. But I just wanted to draw your attention to that, if even just for a moment. So let's go on, and we're going to see some little more interesting waveforms here, starting at number 5. This one is called Noisy Pseudo-Random Wave, and if you look at our oscilloscope, we have some kind of craziness over there. If you compare this waveform over here to what's actually in the manual, it looks pretty different. It looks almost more noisy in the manual. Probably if I kind of tweak the settings a little, I could kind of get it closer to that, but I don't know, I like that waveform too. And I'm not going to change my settings too much, only because there's a couple of waveforms coming up that I have my settings kind of ideal for right now. So let's jump forward to the next one, which is waveform 6. This one's actually called Darwin's shark fin wave. Now, this looked a little bit different when I was doing my test earlier, so let me see if I can get that little shark fin back. Okay, so that's my upper edge of the shark fin right there. And yeah, that's kind of the idea. I could probably play around with zoom a little bit on my oscilloscope and input offset to get it perfect, but you get the idea. Shark fin right up there. Pretty cool. That's a pretty interesting wave. You don't see it every day. Let's look at waveform 7. This is the Grand Teton wave coming up. And if you look at the oscilloscope, it looks fairly Grand Tetonish. It actually has kind of an interesting sound too. Of course, that's a saw and whatever shape you would assign this to together. But I kind of like it. Let's move right along to waveform number 8. This one is Darwin's Ripple Zip. And if you look at it over there, got kind of an interesting little hatch to it at the top. And kind of an interesting sound to it as well. Now that's not quite what it looks like. Let me see if I can get it closer to the shape that I actually see in the manual. That's almost a little closer to what I see in the manual. Yeah, something a little bit more like that is what I see in the manual. Kind of with a little peak going up and then another peak going up. The Ripple Zip. Let's move over to the Skyscraper wave, which is number 9. Whoops, went too far. There's number 9. Now, number 9, we should actually see kind of like, it looks like a bunch of pulses going across, so let's see if we can kind of dial that in. I'm just adjusting my settings here to see if I can get it there. Right there. This is on number 9, the Skyscraper wave. We basically should have kind of an ascending and then a descending part right there. Alright, I think we may just need to move on. Alright, let's move on. Number 10, we have the Darwin's Batman wave, and kind of characterized by those two little sort of ears. Kind of looks like if you were looking at the back of Batman's head or something. Kind of like right there. I'm just making a little bit minor adjustments to kind of maybe get his ears kind of equal shape. I know it's not going to get perfect there, but you get the idea. That's Darwin's Batman wave. Let's move over to the next one. Number 11 is the Foxbat wave. It's this one right here. Just kind of match it up with the picture I see in the manual, just so you can kind of get an idea. Now, I'm a little bit more zoomed than it is actually in the manual, so let me kind of, yeah, kind of like that. So that's the Foxbat wave, number 11. Let's look at the next one, kind of an interesting wave, the Neck Brace wave. Okay, now this one looks quite different than what I see in the manual, so let me do some little minor adjustments over here. But I love the sound of this thing. do some modulation, but not yet. So this one should be characterized by a little dip up in this upper section right there. And that's what I'm trying to target and get. I think we may need to move on with this one as well. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to dial that one in. Okay, so let's move on. Going to waveform number 13, this is going to be Darwin's transmission wave. And I'm just adjusting the input gain here. Kind of some interesting variations there. But to my ears, I can't really dial anything in that I don't like. Like I like it there, I like it there, I like it there. And the shape of it is pretty cool too. Why can't we have waveforms that look cool too? Alright, let's go on to waveform 14. This is called Darwin's diamond wave. It may not look exactly like a diamond, but let me see if I can get it close enough. It's actually pretty close right there. Yeah, not too bad. So that little bulge is kind of supposed to be sort of like the diamond. Now in the manual they probably have a, a frozen cycle, which one perfect cycle. So that's the diamond wave. And then now over to 15. This is our Darwin's alternating current wave. Now this one doesn't necessarily have a distinct shape other than kind of reminds me a little bit of the transmission wave that we're looking at least sonically anyway. I'm just changing the settings here a little bit. All right. So that is bank 1. And I think we have enough time for bank 2.